My name is James Borchers. I have an extensive background as a composer, as a music composer. So I studied music for a lot of years, have been more recently focused on painting. So I'm excited about this opportunity because this is the first sort of painting thing that I've done that has no media element with it. I've been sort of experimenting with this particular style, which I've been thinking of as like a monolith series. So I've done probably like 10 different pieces that are in this vein of like using a lot of geometric structures and forms and using horizontal and vertical strokes and sort of calculating the number of angled strokes and having certain symmetry in the way that the form is sort of laid out on the canvas. But I think of it as these structures of like, a monolith in nature, like we think of Stonehenge or the pyramids or these things that are like this big structure, but it has a sort of a deeper meaning or different meanings to different people. Or I can think of it even as an individual. You can have yourself as an individual as like this one structure, but within that there's all these different colors and different complex thoughts and, light thoughts and dark thoughts and things that are sort of all mixed together. That's part of what's driving my idea about this, exploring these forms. If I can create paintings, it sort of makes me think about the music I write differently, or maybe there's like a thing that I'm trying to get at that musically I didn't realize that's what I was trying to do before, and the painting sort of unlocks that, or vice versa. I can write a piece of music if I think of that in a visual form, like this sort of exploding gesture. What would that look like if it was just as a single thing kind of hanging in space?
My name is Stephanie K. Johnson, and I'm a representational oil painter. My paintings surround the subjects of landscapes and still life. This is my second time with this summer show, and I'm excited to be back. I like to travel around and find inspiration in Europe and the Pacific Northwest. Sometimes I'll go out with my sketchbook and a camera and bring all of my findings to my studio and create a collage, so to speak, for the composition. We were driving around the winding roads of Tuscany, and we stumbled upon this old dirt road that was kind of a side path between the cities, and it was beautifully lined with dark, tall cypress trees, and it was so inspiring. I couldn't wait to get into the studio and capture it. I sometimes composite multiple photographs into a landscape. I'll take a cypress tree from one location and rolling hills from another, and maybe a sky from a third or fourth location, and I'll make a composition sketch ahead of time and figure out where I'm going to place everything. And then sometimes I like to just paint directly on the canvas. The other pieces I have are a conch shell from my collection. The other piece is a cluster of pears on the branch. With my art, I hope to bring color and joy to many people and to share the beauty and light that I discover in nature.
I'm Chris Hurd. I'm primarily a photographer. I've been fortunate enough to be included in the summer show here in Kent for a couple of years since I moved to the area. I chose some images that I've actually had for several years. I've been kind of playing around with the idea of a studio still life. So it's either about food or it's about light. And in this case, this small portfolio that I've got together is a little of both. I mean, it's kind of looking at food and it's looking at light. The image of the pear is, that's kind of my fave. It's a very simple image, really, but in a way it's not. The old saying, two of a perfect pair or something like that. And then I got to thinking, a lot of people who photograph such things as fruit and stuff may be looking for the perfect example of a pear, right? Well, not me. I just pulled it out and it had a little nick in it, and it was not particularly pretty as a pear. And so I decided I would just call it a not quite perfect pear. I enjoy that wordplay, and I just enjoy exploring the world like that and making these little connections in my head. I do my work for myself, and if it resonates with somebody else, that's really cool.
I'm Tara McDermott. I'm a photographic artist based in Seattle, and I do primarily photography-based work. In this exhibit, I have works that are photography and encaustic, which is a mixed media. It's basically beeswax with a tree resin mixed in just to change the properties, but basically it's wax and photos. I had taken a workshop years before with encaustic and mixed media and alternative ways of using photography. I had always enjoyed doing it, but it basically was in the back of my mind, but I hadn't used it for years. So when the image gets printed, and I've adjusted it a little bit in Photoshop just to make it a little bit more ethereal and dreamlike, when it comes out, it looks more painterly than a straight photograph. And then when it gets printed and mounted to a panel, then I'll add, as a final step, I'll add beeswax and resin, the encaustic medium, on top, which gives it kind of a soft, dreamy, kind of slightly opaque surface, and add some texture as well. So if you look at it from the side, you can kind of see there's a lot of kind of like little marks and dips and valleys in the wax, because I like to add some texture to the surface as opposed to keeping it really smooth. I was looking for a way to make something that is reproducible into something that's one of a kind, something that's original artwork. It's not a painting, it's not a watercolor, it's actually photography with wax on the surface.
My name is Jay Gordon. I'm an artist, I'm an educator, I'm a curator. I've always been drawing weird little creatures in my sketchbook, from as far back as I can remember. The 3 pieces that I have in this exhibition are all drawings that I've done in the past 3 years. These drawings, there's a taxidermied bison, there is a chickadee, and then there's this hybrid creature called a peregrine. I've recently begun drawing more stags because that's my family crest. My patrilineal family crest, going back to Scotland, is the stag's head. They're all predominantly graphite. It's my favorite medium. When I went to graduate school at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts in Philly, and I had moved from Seattle to Philadelphia, it was a huge leap. And I got there, I got to my studio, and I had nothing. I just went down to the school store and I just bought one of every type of graphite that they had. And then I just went to town exploring. I think it was about a month before all my stuff arrived. So I had like a whole month of exploring different forms of graphite. And it became a really essential part of what I did.
My name is Lance McMullan. I am a mechanical engineer and went to school in Hawaii and got an art minor. You just get assigned a lot of classes throughout photography, but I always did all mine in night photography. I just liked the idea of being able to capture time in a single shot. It takes 10 minutes sometimes, 10, 20 minutes for a single photograph. What I'll do is, throughout that 10 minutes, I change the scene in front of the lens. And so then the camera picks up like all these ghost images and phantom images of what was in front of there. So one of them is a bioluminescent shot that I had very little time to complete. I was there for a year in Thailand, going out every night, and one time had this plankton glowing like this. And so I found a plastic jug on the beach, and I started picking up water and pouring it on a single rock. And while I was doing that, I kept myself moving. At night, when something's moving, the camera can't pick it up. It can't see it as an image. So me moving around the rock continuously, I don't show up at all, but the water that I'm pouring on the rock all glows strong. It's an unnatural scene that I created just with water and nature. I take the picture, it's done, framed. People would think it's photoshopped or think it can't exist.